Welcome to my Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. Join Larissa and Malerie as they explore biohacking tips for women based on the latest science and research available today. Let them help you unlock your best self. It's time to hack smarter, not harder, together.
Imagine stepping into a tub of ice water and feeling an intense initial shock, but knowing this simple act could transform your hormonal health, lift your mood, and help you manage stress better. Welcome to the world of cold plunging, a biohack that is invigorating as it is powerful. Did you know that just a few minutes in cold water can boost your mood, slash your inflammation, and even rev up your metabolism? It's like a reset button for your body and mind. And today we will cover it and all the things. We will talk about the science behind it. We will talk about how to sync cold plunging with your menstrual cycle, which Malerie is much more aware of, and it's interesting. And beginner-friendly tips on how to safely do it with cold plunging as a biohack staple, and the insights and research from doctors that are not us.
Yes, experts, not
experts,
us.
I should say. Yeah, experts. We are really good at researching and reading other people's expert opinions. It is very interesting. And so last week I was visiting Malerie, and she has a cold plunge. And so she's like, we're getting ready to do the podcast, the cold plunge podcast. Like, you should try it. And I was like, because the last time I was visiting her, I chickened out, but my son did it. Like, everybody else in our family did it, but but I did not. So I chickened out. I'm not going to lie. And so I actually did the cold plunge, and because of all the benefits and all the research, I was like, it is a game changer. And it's been a huge game changer for Malerie specifically. We'll go into that later on. But I actually got in. I did it twice. I stayed in for 6 minutes for 2 times. And it is very uncomfortable the first 30 seconds. Like, there was a lot of cussing involved. And
a lot of yelling.
What?
A lot of yelling involved.
Oh, yep, a lot of yelling. But then once you get past the first 30 seconds, then you're like, oh, I got this. And then you can stay in as long as you want. So that part was like very shocking to me. But I mean, yes, it was shocking physically, but mentally it was also shocking, because I knew, like, once I did it the first time, all I had to do was survive 30 seconds. And then it was great. And then ironically, on the days that we didn't cold plunge, like, I craved it. Like, I felt like my body, like, I felt much more alive and so much more alert. And that was just doing it 2 times. Like, I was like, oh, we should have cold plunge today, because it does wake you up. And mentally is like a mental wake up.
It is. And it's like a reset. Like, there are days where it's like, I'm just feeling crummy, just a crappy mood. I just feel like I need a reset button on today. Like, you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, right?
Yeah.
Those are days that Chris and I'm like, let's just get in the cold plunge, right? Like, it might have been a day that we weren't initially planning to get in, because we don't do it every day, Sometimes I do it every day, but not always. And I'll get in, and I just feel like my whole day has just had a reset button. And it's my favorite thing, because if I just feel like I need something in my back pocket for those bad days, that's it. But it was hilarious to watch you get in for the first time. And I did record some of it. And I do have pictures that we can share.
I know. She said that. She's like, we should record this for the podcast. I'm like, no.
And then I did it anyway.
I know. And then you were trying to bribe all the kids. Like, we'll bribe you if you get into the cold plunge.
I know. And it didn't work, which is crazy, because I did that with my 9-year-old and 7-year-old only for I was like, you can only get in for like a minute, maybe 2, right? Because they're little. Yeah. But it was just like, hey, like, I'll totally pay you. I paid them $25 per minute. And they got in for 2 minutes and got $50 worth of Robux to spend on Roblox. So they were very happy.
That was very costly for you.
It was expensive. I'm not going to lie. But I didn't think they'd do it, right?
Yeah.
So it was like just a funny thing. I was just trying to like have fun and goof around. And then they took me up on it and actually got into the cold plunge for 2 minutes, which I was shocked.
And once you say something, you have to follow through with it.
You do. That's important parenting tip number 1. Don't say it unless you're willing to follow through. Everybody pay attention to that, okay? Follow through is important.
That's bonus.
And then you have to spend $100, which sucks.
Well, ladies, let's talk about the mental load that we carry, like with our hormones. Like, I know I'm feeling a lot with hormones right now, and like work stress, and then with all the mom guilt, like you name it. Like, we have so much pressure on us as women. We're juggling all different things in our lives, and we're trying to care for our families and our personal goals and all this stuff. And what really is affects is our health. Like, that's the at the end of the day, we put everybody else before ourselves, and it impacts our health. And so we have to be really careful about it. And so that's why when Mallory and I started this whole podcast, is like, we want to focus on women and how we can empower women and give that little cheerleader boost to like make biohacking or just health tweaks to your life so that it can change and impact that. Like, women are twice as likely to be depressed than men. We have postpartum depression. 1 in 7 women get postpartum depression. We have our menstrual cycle, which that's a hot mess, depending on the week, depends on your sensitivity, your mood, and
right.
all
It
that
throws
stuff.
everything for a loop, right? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
we have such a wilder roller coaster than men do in general.
Yeah. Well, men like is much more flatline, not saying the flatline, but you know what I mean? That's much more consistent and stable.
Yeah.
Whereas women, depending on the week of your cycle, it totally changes how you interpret and process information and stress. And it's
Right. It
very
makes us
interesting.
more susceptible or sensitive to stress, right? And
Yeah.
less resilient to the mental health challenges that we face.
Yeah. 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 So it's very, very enlightening to do it. And that's one thing I love about cold plunging, is it affects all of that. And so it helps boost all of that and kind of like center like just what you said earlier, a restart. That was a perfect way to describe it. It does access like a reward system in our brain, and it optimizes our own biology, and it helps you feel energized and balanced. And it's so interesting how naturally, like, it makes you feel like you're functioning as a unit instead of individual pieces, instead of going like haywire.
Right. Yep. But it's not without its nuances, right? So let's talk for a second about cold plunging. So the first time that I experienced cold plunging, which I've told this story before, when it was like crazy cold the first time I got in, right? But the idea of cold plunging is that it's cold water immersion, which involves submerging your body in cold water, typically between 50 and 60 degrees, which is where I went wrong the first time, because it was like, I think it was like 43 or 45 or something.
That's cold.
It was so flippin' cold that I never wanted to do it again. So it's funny, because that's where it ended up being a lifesaver for me. But so the goal really, especially for women, I think, is between 50 and 60 degrees for short periods. We're talking about, I mean, when we first heard about cold plunging, when I first started doing the research, it was, I think, on like the Huberman lab, right? They talk up cold plunging a lot, but they're at like crazy low temperatures. And so when I started to do the research to be like, look, I need this. I want to try this, but I need it to be in a way that I can actually convince myself to get in every day.
Is it worth it? Is it worth the 30 seconds of pain and torture?
Yes. Yeah. Like, I couldn't convince myself to get in. So here we had this cold plunge that Chris got, thinking that it was going to be this great thing. And I couldn't convince myself to get in the dang thing. And so when I did the research, really, they were like, start out at 60 degrees. They're like, the benefits really start at 60 degrees. So there's no reason, especially as a beginner, to go that cold. Like, start where you're more comfortable, right? And then build from there. And so the concept is really, start out at 1 to 3 minutes between 50 and 60 degrees. And it's got a ton of promising benefits for women. First of all, let's just talk about some of these things, because they're crazy. And the reason why I got in was for the mental health implications. And so you get your feel-good endorphins. When you get into this cold water, it triggers a 250% increase in the endorphins in your body, norepinephrine, I think is how you pronounce it, and a spike in endorphins, which it mimics kind of the runner's high, right? Like lifting, it'll give you the mood lift that you get.
I love that comparison.
Yeah, for hours afterwards. I think we were both runners, I really feel like it's very similar to that feeling.
It is
I would
very
say
similar.
it's a little better. I think it's a little better.
I never made that comparison. But the 2 times I cold plunged at your house, I mean, like since then I've done cold showers because I don't have a cold plunge yet. But I do feel better. Like I feel much more ready to come life. And that is great to a runner's high. I never associated that, but that is very
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it feels, but it's great because you get it in just a few minutes
Yeah.
versus running for a long time, and we both know now how much of an impact that takes on your knees,
Yeah.
and so it's great to be able to get that feeling again where I can't run like I used to. So,
Yeah.
and as far as women go, the norepinephrine that your body increases its production of actually really helps with anxiety relief and depression support. With the endorphins. So that was huge. That was the reason why I got into cold plunging. But some of the other things that it does, which is amazing, is mood stability. It really helps stabilize mood swings and irritability, that sort of thing. And then it also helps with cortisol reduction and stress resilience, which was another reason why I got in, because I was under a lot of stress with a full-time career, a brand new baby, dealing with very crippling postpartum depression, right? Like I was really looking for ways to have more resilience and to manage cortisol better. And so what it does is it activates the parasympathetic. I'm trying to say this correctly, all the scientific terms.
We're not doctors. You can mess it up a little bit.
Right? Oh, good Lord. I'm going to butcher it. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which counters stress, which is, the major driver of a lot of women's mental health issues.
That's because we have to do everything. I was just throwing in another, I agree. Go on.
It's right. It's true though. Like if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Right. So
exactly.
Yeah. Yep. But it also helps with sleep improvement. And that was something I didn't expect because it wakes you up. So you wouldn't think about how it will affect your sleep. And we know sleep is crucial to mental health, to general health, right? Yeah. And so that was a surprising benefit that I didn't realize.
Once you started cold plunging, because you have been doing it for years now. So do you think that the cold plunging has impacted your sleep?
Yes, I do think so. I honestly think that and I'll have to show pictures when I tell when I talk about my story here, we can include a picture of a before and after. I really feel like my hormones were completely out of whack. Like this was before we found lab work, right? To start to figure out what was going on in the body. I was having inflammation and swelling. My face looks completely different than it used to, right? There were just signs that my body was out of whack. And I really feel like cold plunging started this domino effect of pulling my body back into alignment. And part of that was sleep too. I was having, night sweats, not sleeping well. And all of that stuff just disappeared when I started cold plunging, which was crazy.
Wow. That is crazy.
I mean, I was doing other things too, but I was doing all those things before I started cold plunging and I was out of whack. And then just introducing cold plunging
reset you.
It did. It was crazy. Yeah. And the other reason why I did it, and this is another huge benefit of cold plunging, is I was really trying to just get back to myself after having a baby, right? I was a high risk pregnancy and I had to eat, I had calorie requirements, I had protein requirements to try and make sure that the baby thrived. And so I just put on weight, just trying to make sure that she grew enough because she was small. She wasn't growing like she should be. So I was eating like crazy. I was eating so much protein, which was what the baby needed. But then after the fact, I was just a wreck, right?
And were you breastfeeding too?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I was breastfeeding. And some women breastfeed and they just shrink down. It's their weight loss, thing that it's the miracle pill for them.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm that crazy peasant DNA, right? Where it's don't worry, we got you. You're never we're going to hold on to everything and you're never going to starve to death. So I was every time I was breastfeeding, I was freaking plump peasant country. Okay. But you know what? The baby was, she did great. She was fed. That's what mattered. But when I was weaning her off, and trying to feel like myself again, I wanted to lose weight. I
Yeah.
wanted to lose the baby weight. I wanted to feel good. I just didn't feel like I was in my own body. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And one of the other benefits of the cold plunge is it boosts your metabolism, and it really helps you create brown fat versus other types of fat in your body. It's called, I forgot what it's called, but it's brown fat basically, where it changes the way that your metabolism works. Like a lot of cold, being exposed, like cold exposure, changes the fat content and the type of fat that you carry in your body that actually boosts your metabolism. And so it's like having these tiny superheroes in your body that, spring into action when you hit the cold water, and it boosts your metabolism, it protects your brain, it helps you bounce back from stress. And a lot of that all comes down to cold shock proteins, which are different than heat shock proteins, which we'll talk about when we talk about the sauna episode.
So brown fat, I don't know about brown fat. So brown fat is like a protector?
It's like a metabolism burner. Like it's going to utilize your other fats to protect your body. So it is kind of like a protector, where it's like it's trying to protect your body and keep it running so that you don't freeze to death, right?
Yeah.
And so it's going to utilize what is the fats and the things in your bodies more efficiently, because it's in survival. Like you're surviving cold, wet, extreme cold exposure.
So it's kind of like a director, or it directs everything and what to do and when and all that stuff to kind of like make it all functional.
Yeah. Like that's my very rudimentary understanding of it. But
Yeah.
I do know that it literally, like people talk about it changing the overall makeup of your body. Like you'll have a lot of, like instead of just being like, oh, I lost weight, like it actually just changes the way your body shape and the overall, how your body looks, which I definitely saw. Like I'll have to find the picture, because just overall,
Yeah, we can include it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell my story in a second. But
I know I'm getting ahead of it because I was like, it's interesting.
so big.
And like, I have definitely seen the dramatic change in you. So, I mean, it got me into the cold plunge this year. So
yeah, it was big. I look like a different person, I feel like. And
you
so
definitely look like a whole new person. You look like you did when you were 18.
well, that makes me so happy, because that was the goal. I was like, I had 3 babies, gosh dang it. Like I deserve to feel like myself again. And what I want to feel like or experience is where I was before I had kids. I deserve to get back to that. I'll work for that. I love my body enough to give myself that, right?
Yeah.
And so everything I was doing wasn't working. I was like, I've done so much research. I know I'm right there, right? It's like that right before your boiling point, you know? And so I'm like, I'm just there. And I felt like the cold plunge just took me over the edge. And it's made all the difference in feeling like I'm aging backwards, you know what I mean? And recovering from the whole period of having babies and sacrificing my own health to take care of them, because they rely on me to keep them alive, right?
Yeah.
And so that was definitely I feel like between the mental health that I really needed for postpartum depression treatment. I didn't want to do medication. I don't react well to medications. So I wanted to find an effective way to treat it naturally. And then I wanted to lose weight and feel better. And then I also wanted to utilize the cold shock proteins. So between the mental health, the brown fat production, right, and then the cold shock proteins for like longevity, just better mental health. That was the biohacking appeal to me, was that I wanted to have like neuroprotection, because I felt like you feel the brain fog and the like, you just know, like I feel like after having kids, your memory's not the same. You know what I mean? Like so many 100%. Things, right?
Yeah. Your stress level goes up, and it does. It literally did. I was much calmer on the days that I cold plunged mentally.
Yeah, like your mood, it really does just give you the ability to handle more, like your capacity increases, right? Which is a very real thing.
It is but it was nice. But just like going back, I love that it, like what you said, it's a natural way to reset your body, because it's very natural, but it kind of puts all back in sync. And then it kind of puts on your warrior shield, and you're like, okay, I got this day, like I can I can do XYZ. I can handle this. I can tackle this problem. I can, run my kids around, and I can do work. I can multitask all these things. So it kind of puts on your warrior shield, gear on, so that you can like tackle it and be successful at it and feel like you're going to be successful at it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I was in such a dire place that it was the only thing getting me through. And that's why for a long time, I did it every single day. And we'll talk about cycle syncing in a little bit, which is something fascinating to me, because while we were doing the research for this episode, I was kind of putting together all the things that I had learned. And then I was like, I never really thought about how my cycle would impact the way that I would cold plunge.
Yeah.
But I do think that because I was so intent on listening to my body, that I think I naturally did adjust my cold plunging. I adjusted it based on how I was feeling, but a lot of that probably had to do with my cycle. So
let's talk about the timing. So you have 4 phases. And so in cold plunging, depending on the week cycle, that your phase that you're in your cycle depends on how long you cold plunge. So how do you feel that impacts your cold plunging?
I think it's very real. Like during the week of my period, like if I cold plunge, like I may not, like if I'm not feeling great, like I don't, because the one thing that I do know is like when you're sick, for example, and you have a fever, like you shouldn't get in the cold plunge, because that is too much stress on your body. Like if you have a fever, you should be getting in the sauna, right? Where you're oxidizing your blood and empowering your body to fight whatever virus or bacteria you're fighting, right? And so I feel like it's a lot the same way with your cycle. Like when you're already under a lot of stress during the week of your period, like if you do it, you should not do it for very long, right? Whereas like when you're in your...
Skip it or be like a minute.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. And then when you're in your follicular phase, coming out of your period, and you're in that leading up to ovulation, this is a great time. This is when you should be cold plunging the longest and the most often, because that's your feel good phase. That's your high estrogen, high energy phase that you want to capitalize on. Right.
Yeah.
And then during ovulation, still, that's a great time to be doing it long. Whereas your luteal phase, coming off of ovulation and heading back towards your period, you want to do less, because you have lower energy, you have
bloated.
Bloating, PMS symptoms, things like that like you want to be gentler on your body and do less, right? And then your period comes again and you want to either not do it or do it the least amount. And so it's kind of like it revs up and then it revs down based on your cycle, is what experts recommend as we've done this research. And I think that is kind of naturally what I did. Like if I was just feeling like, when I would get in the cold plunge and I was like shivering longer than I usually, because we talked about the first 30 seconds is kind of the hardest part.
It's torture.
But like there would be days where I'd be like a minute 30 seconds in or 2 minutes in, because I cold plunge for at least 6 minutes. But
she's worked up to that. Let me preference that. She's worked up to that.
Exactly. Now I do. At the beginning, I did not. But if I'm in it for 2 or 3 minutes and I'm still shivering physically, I'll probably get out earlier, because that's a sign that my body's feeling the stress. Whereas like other days I can get in and it's after 30 seconds, I'm fine. Like, I mean, you saw me when I got in, it was probably like 15 seconds and I was doing okay.
Yeah, you were not like me.
I was at the beginning. You should have seen the first time. I wish they would have recorded it, because it was actually, I don't, it was embarrassing.
I understand all of that. I sympathize with that. So that was like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay. So let me tell my story, because this was such a life changer for me. When I had our third kid, I think I'd always suffered with postpartum depression a little bit with my first 2, but I don't know, when I got pregnant, during my pregnancy, I could feel that it was different. I knew I was going to have a rough time with postpartum depression. I think I had it during my pregnancy.
Wow.
But there was a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. I was,
moving
in an amazing career, but very demanding.
Yeah.
And then during my pregnancy, my 4-year-old got appendicitis, his appendix burst.
Yeah.
And there I was, 6.5 months pregnant in the hospital where my son almost died. And then immediately, and just before that had happened, I had found out that our baby wasn't thriving. So her vitals, like her growth was dropping. And then we're in the hospital for 10 days and it's a complete nightmare. I get back out, go to the doctor, and she's dropped completely down to like the 3rd percentile, like in size.
Oh,
And it was terrifying. I mean, it was,
yeah.
so then we're going to the doctor 4 days a week, doing all the vital tests, and it just was crazy for the last trimester. And so anyway, coming out of that, everything was just about the kids. It was just about
survival.
Yeah, keeping our kids alive. And she delivered and was beautiful and perfect. She was little, but she was bigger than we expected. You know, they told us to expect like a 4-pound baby, and she came out 6. So like everything we did worked, but at a high cost for me, right? I was just doing everything I could. And it worked. I was so grateful. And she was such a perfect baby. But my postpartum depression was incapacitating. By the time she was 4 or 5 months old, I remember texting you and our other sister and being like, guys, like, have you guys had this? Like, I don't even know what to do. And luckily you guys gave me amazing advice. And we got an amazing nanny. You know, while I was working and Chris was working, we were able to bring in a nanny who was just amazing. Like, I think between those two things, your guys' advice and that, and Chris's amazing support, things got better. But I was like, it wasn't enough. And so our friend had gotten a cold plunge and was like, you guys have got to try this. And that's when I went over and I tried it. And I was like, I'd been thinking in the back of my head because I had heard the research. We'd been listening to podcasts, people talking about cold plunging. And I was like, I should do this. And I tried it and I was like, I am definitely not doing this.
You're like, this is torture.
Yeah. I was like, not worth it. Not worth it. But Chris liked it, right? Because he did the cold plunge and he was like, he felt the benefits and he was like, this is amazing. So then he bought one. And
he's an extremist. He likes to go extreme. And so he's like, this makes me feel invigorating and alive. And like, let's do this.
Yep. So he got it. And then he was like, you really should try this. And then I kept doing the research, it just kept popping up in all the other biohacking stuff that I naturally like to research.
You just kept avoiding it because you're like, I don't want to be miserable and in cold.
Yeah, I ignored it. I was like, ignoring that one. Continue. Nope. But then eventually it came about. I had to have a surgery in the winter, and my daughter was like 9 months old, and I just felt so terrible. That's where I had been doing all of the things that I usually do to feel better, to be healthier, right? And I still was just feeling terrible. And that's when I took my first picture. It was around the holidays. And I was just like, I was like up to my pregnancy weight.
Oh, you're talking about your before picture.
Yeah, when I took my before picture. So I was like back up to how heavy I was when I was 9 months pregnant. And I was just miserable and stressed out, like all the stress. I really feel like it was like all the stress and not being able to manage it. My hormones were out of whack, recovering from having a baby, dealing with postpartum depression. It was all the things, just the culmination that I finally was just like, I either need to go get on medication or I need to try something more extreme to handle it myself, right? And I was functioning, but barely, And so I was like, that's it. I'm going to have to try it. I'm going to have to cold plunge. And so I did the before picture and I was like, I'm just going to do, I think I was like, I'm just going to try it. I wanted to give it a really good chance. I was like, I'm going to try it 30 times. Like, I'm going to cold plunge 30 times. I'm going to document it. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to count it. Like, I'm going to make this a really big deal. And so I just started. I didn't really make a big deal about it with anybody. I just started doing it. I didn't even tell anybody. And it was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like so soothing to the soul. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. To just have something that helped. Like it was it was like taking that magical pill you wish you had, right? That it was like, I just need something to help me handle these things. I need something to help me feel better. I need something that I can do or take when I'm feeling the lowest. So like when I could just tell when I woke up when it was like a bad day, and I would get in to the cold plunge. I was like, okay, this is the day that I have to get in. And it was insane how much it helped. Like those first 30 times, it was just for the mental capacity to pull myself. Yes. Yeah. Like to pull myself out of that hole I was in, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. I was like, this is insane. Like I I can't survive without this. Like that was how it was at first. And during that time, I just started to shrink. It wasn't like weight loss, like my face, like just the puffiness, you know what I mean, just started to go away.
So last week, I was just out there visiting her last week, and I literally kept staring at her, and I was like, Malerie, you literally look like you had plastic surgery done, like, because it was just, she looked like her face was thinner and more chiseled. You know what I mean? It just like, it looked,
Yeah.
like in your youth, like when you look in your youth. And
Yes.
so it totally sold me on it, visiting you and like seeing you in real life, and like, wow, what a
Right.
difference it has made. Like in your
Yes.
whole, your whole body. Like it definitely like sold me on it forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll put a picture up so you guys can see, because what ended up happening was that I started approaching 30 days and I was feeling so amazing that I was like, this can't stop. So I was like, I'm going to do 100. I'm going to do 100 days of cold plunging. And that's the picture that I'll share here, because it was insane. Because I was taking pictures along the way. I did like day one compared to day 15, and then day 30. And then, and I think I did like day 25 and day 50, and so I kind of started doing from once I decided I was going to pass 30, I did day 1, day 25, day 50, day 75, and then day 100. And I just kept seeing, it was just so great to see that even I felt so many things, but you could see the difference, which was
That's
huge.
why I feel like with this whole biohacking experience that we're trying to like understand is like, you have to make your measurements in the beginning. You have to take pictures in the beginning, because to really see and really like own it for your own body, you have to see the growth of the change. Otherwise people will burn out. So that's why people burn out. So if you don't do the initial start where you're like, this is how much, like my waist measurements. And then back to your point, like your weight necessarily wasn't changing, but your whole physique of your body was changing. So the hacks can change different things. So you really have to do multiple types of measurements so that you can really see the benefits. And I mean, physically, and then obviously mentally. But I mean, I think that's an important thing. I love that how you broke it down into steps, and I should do that too.
Yeah, it was.
All of you.
Yeah, it helps. It really does. Start with small goals and build. But it was just so important to me. I think that was really what spurred me. Is I was like, I need to pull myself out of this place I'm at, and this was the ladder for me that was so effective. But at the same time that I was having the body recomposition, I really did start losing weight. I mean, by day 50, I think I had lost like 30 pounds.
That's crazy.
If for anybody who knows me, like I've always prioritized health and wellness, feeling good. And I do care about my body and how I look. And so, but I've never been able to lose weight like that. That's never happened. It's always been like 10 or 15 pounds. That's it, right? That's all I've ever fluctuated. And in this instance, I mean, by the time I reached day 100, I had lost like 45 pounds. And
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was so amazing because I had worked so hard on so many different things that would get my body to respond, that to just go back to the way that it used to be, right? After kids, but nothing had worked like this. And I was still doing all the other things. This just was that taking me over the edge, over the boiling point to actually make a difference. And it has been a life changer ever since. So now it's just a big tool in my arsenal that I use for everything: stress management, mental health, but it has other benefits too, to your skin, to your like anti-aging benefits, anti-inflammatory. Like that's another reason why I used it, because I have a lot of inflammation issues.
Me. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like our family really has a hard time with inflammation, and it's I know it's a thing in America with all the preservatives and the food and the all the just hyper processed foods and things causes a huge inflammation epidemic in the country, and I feel like our family is the number one example. So cold plunging helps everybody. Okay.
Yeah, it helps with your mental health. It helps with like depression. It helps with your sleep. It helps with your moods. Yeah, it is definitely a game changer. You definitely sold me on cold plunging. I'm not gonna lie. I never would have done this hack without you.
You know
Without your
what? I
story
get it.
and evidence that it worked. And,
Yeah.
but I mean, it is literally, it is really impressive. And it's so natural and it's so simple.
Yes. So, I mean, and even just to talk about for beginners, right? Let's talk about options here because
Oh,
we
yeah.
did get a full-on cold plunge, but that was probably the most expensive option. There's so many other ways that you can get the cold shock um, treatments, whether it's starting out with just a cold shower, right? You
Mhm.
can just turn your cold shower. It's only going to probably be 60 to 64 degrees in a cold shower, but you're still getting benefits from that, right?
Yeah.
The other options are, an ice bath with a thermometer. Like you can,
Mhm.
that's a little bit more fluctuating and harder to control, still totally possible. Um, there are very affordable cold plunge tubs and things like that on Amazon or places. Like there's so many options for being able to, and there's starting to be community centers and gyms and things
Gyms.
like that that
Yeah.
are offering cold plunges. That's growing in the industry and for good reason. So there's a lot of options depending on your budget that you can make this happen.
So, because I am on a budget, do you think what do you think that I should do? Because obviously everybody's selling it, right? Like I think you saw a cold plunge at your Costco one day. And she
Yeah.
sent me the picture. I was like, that's crazy. It wasn't at my Costco, but at your Costco, there was a cold plunge. So, like, do you think that, like, for me, for example, like on a budget, do you think I should start with? I mean, obviously I'll do the shower, but do you
Mhm.
think that like twice a week I should do an ice bath?
That is a totally free way to do it or low cost, right? If you're going to take a bath, just filled up with cold water, check the temperature and add ice cubes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's totally. Sometimes when our cold plunge isn't cold enough for like my husband who likes to do it colder than me, he'll just add a whole thing of ice cubes just cuz
Oh.
he instantly wants it to be colder than it is. He doesn't want to wait for it to cool
Oh.
down because that can take hours
Never
with
thought
our
about
cold
that.
plunge. Yeah. So that's a totally affordable way. Another thing to do is if you don't want to spend very much, like there are literally those inflatable plunge tubs or barrels on Amazon that you can get for like $150, 200. That if you're willing to invest a little bit, right? That those are options you can do on your back patio or
The reason
something.
I'm being picky right now, because your cold plunge, I love that it has like hard sides. It's not inflatable. So then
Yes.
because so in Mallory's cold plunge, you stand in, you get in, but it's hard on the side. So you can push your legs against one side and your back. And then I learned no wrists or hands in because it made me too cold. So you just have to do your core body. So my head could be out of the water and my wrists, my hands and wrists, which is a game
Yeah.
changer for me. So I was
Yeah.
able to get in, but I was able to center my energy and push my legs against the back of the cold plunge, and so that helped me stay in and, like, center myself. So
Right.
that's
You
why I was like,
brace
"Ooh,
yourself in
maybe."
the
Yeah,
water.
brace yourself, and then
Yeah.
just for the first 30 seconds, and then you get used to it, and then you're like, "Okay, I could do anything in there." But,
Mhm.
just for that first 30 seconds initial plunge, right? I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, maybe I could do that same concept in the bathtub," and with the hard sides is
Oh
where I'm
yeah,
going, where
absolutely.
I'm circling back around to.
Yeah, and that's why I was like a barrel might they do have like cold plunge barrels, which might be more but still
Oh,
getting in and out can be tricky,
yeah.
right? When you're a
Yeah, how do you get
beginner,
in and out of a barrel?
a lot of them come with like a step stool or you just have
Oh,
a
yeah,
step stool, right?
yeah,
Because even my cold plunge has a step.
yeah. Yeah,
But
yours
I
is
mean, it
great.
just depends. It is a little bit tricky when you're that cold, right? You
Yeah,
want to be very aware of your surroundings because you have a little bit less control of your body as you're trying to get out and
yeah,
you're feeling a little your limbs are feeling a little stiff and cold,
yeah, yeah.
then that was my experience at the 43 degrees. My hands were like, I was like a T-Rex because my hands were in there and it was so cold, but I tucked them between like my knee and my thigh, like in the crease. And then they froze like that. So I was quite the sight.
Well, that's why I appreciate doing the cold plunge with you because you're like, no, your hands don't need to be in, your head doesn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You just need your core body in to really get the benefits. And
Yeah.
then, I like that you knew all of that. And you're like, the max benefits is 6 minutes. Anything beyond that, it doesn't matter. So don't stay in too long. And so like
Yep.
that. And of course, I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to stay in for the max.
Yeah, and sometimes I stay in longer for just the joint. Like sometimes I'm achy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'll stay in for 10 minutes just to like when my knees hurt. I'm feeling arthritis or inflammation. I have knee problems still. I'll stay in because it's icing your knee. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's only on the days that I feel good. So let's talk about some tips here for
Okay.
beginners.
Okay.
Obviously, some of the risk factors are if you have heart issues or things like that, you should always you should clear it with your doctor before you start, because there can be a lot of stress, especially at the beginning, on your system. The point is you are stressing your system to get the cold shock proteins and get those benefits. It triggers this process in your body that is protective and good for you, but it is stressful, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that you're cleared medically to even be able to do something like this, first of all. And then if you're pregnant, I don't know if you can cold plunge while you're pregnant. I think that that's unclear, and you should definitely consult your doctor on that.
Yeah.
I know some women have, but I also don't think I would have while I was pregnant. So I have no idea.
Well, it goes back to like follow your gut. You know what I mean? And always err on the safety, you know,
and talk
cautious.
to your doctor, right? Like make sure that this is not something that's gonna be too stressful for you, because managing your stress is important. But the other thing is, you know, make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings. Like we were talked about, like that when you get in and out, you don't want to slip or fall, because you do have less control of your body. So that is a thing for sure. And then the big thing for me to figure out when I started cold plunging regularly is I was like, it's so hard for me to convince myself to get in, that I would sit there by the cold plunge for 10, 15, 20 minutes being like, I can't make myself do this, right? So I did some research. I was like, how the crap do you get into a cold plunge? Like, how do I make myself do this, right? I'm like Googling it. I don't even know. I was just trying to, but then there was a legitimate
system
phenomenon that the dread is actually harder than the experience.
Oh,
so
I believe that.
Yes. And so the advice that I was able to glean was, it's more about managing your dread than it is about the actual experience itself. And so the faster you can move through the dread, the better the experience will always be.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And so I made this rule, because I put on headphones and I turn on, when I cold plunge, just like the nastiest music, like nu metal, you know, Marilyn Manson, like, I don't know, not Linkin Park, Corn, like all of these like really just intense music, because it kind of just helps me process. It's like swearing. Like sometimes swearing really helps you process some stuff, right? Like intense music does. So my rule is that when I am getting ready to get in, I put on my headphones and I turn on my playlist, my Marilyn Manson playlist. And I have one song to prepare. And when that song ends, my feet go in the water. And once my feet touch the water, all of me goes in the water. And so it's basically my method for working through the dread is I'm like, I've started the song and I'm getting in at the end of the song, because the longer I wait, the worse this experience is. Yeah. And so that's just my rule. Chris has a different rule. For him, he's like, once he gets on the cold plunge, he doesn't get down until he's gotten in. He's like, I can't get off to even grab a towel. If I'm up here, I'm getting in. And so that works for him, right? Yeah. It's just our coping mechanisms for the dread of the shock. Because there's going to be days that you don't feel like doing it. There were days that I was like, this is the last thing I want to do. Yeah. Different than listening to my body and being like, I don't feel well enough to do this today. That was different. I wouldn't do it those days.
You knew you were dreading it, so you just had to overcome the mental dread, not the physical.
And hence building the mental resilience, right? Because then I'm working through the dread and then I'm getting the benefit at the end of it. So,
and you're becoming stronger and more capable and owning your body and knowing that you can do it.
Right. And then when you're doing something that mentally challenging to do, it just sets you up for the rest of the day that nothing is quite as hard, right?
It's kind of like that book, you know, where they say make your bed every morning. So it's like you've already succeeded at one thing. Yes. And so it sets you up for succeeding across all different goals throughout the day. It's like that. It's like if you can cold plunge and do that, which is very hard mentally to get in, then that's interesting. I never thought about it like that either. Because that's true.
It's very true.
If you can just do it, then you're like, oh, this is easy. I already cold plunged today. I can handle this.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're like, I faced the dread and I got over it and I got in, you know? And so now that I've been doing it for years, like I'm a lot more practiced at that. But at the beginning, I had to make that rule about the song, because otherwise I was spending 40 minutes to cold plunge when I've only been there for 6.
When you were telling me about your routine with the song, I was like, that totally makes sense. Like, okay, da, da, da. You know, it's kind of like, you know, Rocky, you know, like turn up and
hype yourself up.
Yeah, hype yourself up, and then you just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that background music. I appreciated it.
I was hyping you up for this
I know.
conversation, Larissa.
I love it. So now that you've heard everything that Malerie has shared with us, because she's definitely the expert between the two of us on this because of her personal experience. And I loved her story. It definitely motivated me to try it because I told you last time I was there, I was like, no way. And so she's done all this since the last time I saw her, visited her. And so it's pretty impressive what a short period of time it completely transformed your life. So it's very impressive. So I did it and I ever since I came back, I've been doing cold showers, so but I want to try it. Now I want to try the bathtub. That's going to be my next step.
Yeah,
so if you
just a
want
few
to
days a
join
week.
yeah, exactly. That's the best part about it. It doesn't have to be every day. So if you want to join the challenge with me, I am trying to start it and try this biohack because I want the brown fat. I want to put on my armor. I want to change my body, and I want the mental clarity and boost that it gives you naturally. And so it's huge. So if you want to take that plunge with us, join our cold plunge challenge. You can start with a 30-second cold shower on your next shower. Over the next week, you can gradually increase it to 1 to 2 minutes, but make sure you pay attention to how you feel. Are you more energized? Are you focused? Are you uplifted? And then make sure you share your journey with us on all of our social media outlets and with a hashtag cold plunge challenge, because we can't wait to hear your stories. There is so much about cold plunging. We will follow up with it and make sure that you document it. Make sure you take pictures. We do have a protocol that we have, and we have a cheat sheet on our website, mywellnessrewired.com. But it's important to make sure you document it so that you can really justify, is it really working? You don't want to do things if it's not working. So you want to make sure you document it and do the process, and then set yourself a goal like Malerie did. Malerie started out like, I'm going to do 30 cold plunges. And so and then she saw the benefits and then upped it to 100, and now it's a lifestyle for her. So it's interesting how those little small steps helps improve your whole life indirectly, without you having to accomplish a whole task. Like if you wanted to dive in, like for me, it's overwhelming to think about doing it 100 times. Like that would overwhelm me. But if I could do 30, and start slower, and then know that I could do it in the shower, and then maybe twice a week I might fill my bathtub up with ice and see if I can do a submersion one. But you don't have to put your head or your hands in there, FYI, because that makes it colder.
That is how I convince myself some days when I'm like, I really don't want to. I'm like, you know what? Today I got to be on my phone in the cold plunge, which means my hands don't have to be in, and I can scroll whatever I feel like because I got in the cold plunge. So it works.
Because you've already mastered something that is very challenging.
Yes, that's my reward. That is my reward. So
I agree. So,
but yes, join us. Hashtag cold plunge challenge. My Wellness Rewired, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. So we're there. Just shout out to us because and our Facebook group, obviously too, My Wellness Rewired Facebook group. We're going to be talking about this a lot because this is such a huge game changer for women specifically. So,
and know that the first 30 seconds is not ever comfortable, but after that, it actually lightens up. The shower, I feel like, is a harder cold plunge because your hair is wet. Whereas when you submerge yourself in a cold plunge or a bathtub, then your hair doesn't have to be wet, because that makes a difference having wet hair.
Yeah, I don't like the shower. I actually prefer the cold plunge. I don't like a cold shower.
The shower is harder. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I honestly feel like the bathtub with ice a few times a week, if you just sort of I have to do it a minimum of 3 times a week or something, 2 or 3, working up to that, right? That for me personally is easier. I did try the cold showers first and I didn't like it. You'll have to try it though. So try it. Let us know. You can use the hashtag cold plunge challenge and let everybody know how it's going.
And we'll do it together and we'll follow up, and we're here with you because it's all about learning and knowing your body and understanding it, and what works well for you might not work well for somebody else. But it worked great for Malerie and she motivated me. So I'm going to try the experiment.
This one really is a game changer from somebody who is not an extremist. Let me just tell you, it's freaking amazing. Give it a try. Thanks for listening to my whole long story today. And we'll catch you guys next time. We'll be talking about the sauna and heat shock proteins. So make sure to catch the next episode. All right, you wellness rock stars. That's a wrap on this episode of My Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. We've had a blast dishing out the hacks and laughs, but hold up, let's keep it real.
Yep, we are not doctors. We are just sharing our biohacking adventures and learning right alongside you. Nothing we say is medical advice, so always, always check with your healthcare provider before trying any new wellness tricks.
Absolutely. This podcast is all about inspiration and entertainment, not prescriptions. So join our Facebook group for more sassy wellness vibes. Catch you next time.